Hello and welcome to today's webinar session. Our topic is Improve Your Digital Workplace Integration and Efficiency. Our two webinar presenters are Chris Smith and Brandon Hegg. Chris is in charge of alliances and partners at mFiles. He's been involved in the information technology industry for over 20 years in the consulting, technical, and sales capacities. Brandon is the mFiles systems engineer and intelligent information management expert. He's worked with enterprise content management solutions and IT for over 20 years. Chris and Brandon will answer these key questions at today's webinar. How do we improve productivity by automating and streamlining the processes around our documents? How do we allow staff to work in the applications they prefer, no matter where they are, but maintain compliance? And how do we seamlessly unify collaboration, content, and control across all applications? I am your host, Maricel Abraham, Asia Pacific Marketing Manager at mFiles. This webinar is being recorded for on-demand viewing, and the recording will be shared with you all via email. All attendees are now in listen-only mode. However, if you have any questions or comments, please type them in the chat box window and we will address them during the Q&A session. It's my pleasure to hand you over to our first webinar presenter, Chris Smith. Chris.
Thank you, Maricel. I trust everyone can hear me nice and clearly and you can see my screen. Thank you to everyone that has registered for this session today. We understand that given the unprecedented events of recent times, and particularly in the last few days, that there may be a number of people that have previously registered that are unable to join this session live. But for those that are unable to make it today, we hope that you're able to watch the recording in the near future. So we have a bit to get through before we get to Brandon and his demonstration. So let's jump in. So mFiles as an organization are a leading software as a service provider of intelligent information management solutions. mFiles at its core is a document management solution, but we are now carving a leadership position in the market in this new category of intelligent information management. Now we'll dive into this a bit deeper as we get through the session, but at a high level, it's all about being metadata driven, repository neutral, and in more cases, user interface or UI neutral, and AI powered. So mFiles was originally founded in Finland in the early 2000s, with the first version released in 2005. In fact, the people responsible for that original version are still within the organization, and the solution maintains its same core code and is not being a series of application bolt-ons through acquisition. We are now globally over 500 employees with 300 resellers globally, with the reseller and partner community being a key part of our go-to-market strategy. With over 5,000 customers under our subscription model, we are continuing to experience greater than 40% annual recurring revenue growth year on year. We operate in over 100 countries with offices and direct people within the US, UK, France, Germany, Finland, Australia, and Canada. We focus on automating and streamlining information management so that our customers can focus on their core business. As a solution, we are flexible in our deployment. We offer both cloud, on-premise, or hybrid solutions. As a software as a service provider, mFiles provides this hosting within the Microsoft Azure cloud infrastructure network. On-premise can be within your own cloud infrastructure network, data centers, or corporate offices. We are a configuration, not customization solution. And we adapt to change, as mFiles is a core bedrock infrastructure solution and not just another system. It is not application specific and has multiple use cases. If we were to look at some of the reasons why our customers have chosen mFiles, even perhaps when they had competitor solutions already deployed, mFiles integrates with existing systems and it enhances them. These could be systems such as Salesforce, SharePoint, or specific business systems. mFiles does not require heavy and expensive data migrations, meaning that there is no big disruption to day-to-day activities. mFiles is easy to use. Even people with a limited technical aptitude or background are able to use it from day one. This is in the most part thanks to the window-based UI and deep integration. And finally, mFiles is not application specific and being configured and adapted for all sorts of business needs. This is not always the case with our competitors. So if we were to look at what some of the industry analysts are saying, we have been on the Gartner Magic Quadrant for a number of years now. Most recently, as of the report in November last year, we are positioned as the most visionary. And we continue to make progress with Gartner and their analysis of mFiles, and we fully expect in the near term to be in the leader quadrant. If we looked at another analyst report, this time from Nucleus Research, which came out in the first half of last year, it has mFiles positioned as a leader. We like to highlight this report because if you notice along the x-axis, they measure functionality, but perhaps most importantly on the y-axis, are measuring usability. This report ties in with our belief that mFiles is the ultimate mix of functionality and usability. This is the feedback we get from our customers every single day, that our product is easy to use, yet does not cut back on or sacrifice any of the professional document management or content management functionality that they need to run their business. To further reinforce my previous anecdotal statements, we see that TrustRadius named us as the top solution, which is actually 100% based on customer feedback, review, and ratings. So let's transition a bit and talk about the market in general. Obviously, the world we live in has changed quite dramatically over the past weeks and months. This slide in isolation is not specific to that current environment. However, some of the challenges addressed here are potentially further emphasised given the remoteness of people and operations and the environment which we currently face ourselves. As mentioned on our earlier slide, we have been around for more than 15 years now, and based on our vast experience, the feedback from our customers, and our understanding of our industry, these are the key lessons that are spelled out on this slide. Information is literally everywhere. Examples being some of the systems we've already mentioned: cloud storage, bespoke, custom developed solutions, SharePoint, you name it, it's everywhere. And this can be a huge challenge. If you couple this with the dramatic changes in end user expectations and being a mobile focused workforce, they expect the applications that are using to be just as simple as the apps they are using on their phones. This is the expectation of the modern workforce. So this is what we are facing as a software vendor and how we have to deliver our solution to meet those expectations. Organizations are trying to innovate on their own. So that's also a very important imperative that we have to be able to help our customers innovate and continue to drive innovation. So we keep this in our minds as we are developing our product. Security and compliance, obviously. We are in a very heavily regulated world now, where things like personal identifiable information, standards are all part of our daily lives. As you most likely hear yourselves on a daily basis now, artificial intelligence and in general information intelligence is an absolute mandate. To drive our businesses now, we have to have automation. These technologies are maturing rapidly at this point, and mFiles are baking in a lot of that strategy into our platform to make our solution easier to use for our customers and get more value out of their information to make it truly meaningful to them. Obviously, mobile platforms are pervasive in today's business, so we have mobile-specific applications that we have designed, and Brandon may even be demonstrating some of this today. The pace of change absolutely demands flexibility. No longer is it acceptable to have a static application that is not capable of changing dynamically day to day, week to week, month to month, and the needs of business change. So if the systems we have are hard to use, rigid, inflexible, with potentially different security models, permission models, a lack of integration, siloed data, siloed content, perhaps reliant on traditional search techniques and hierarchies, adopt the approach of a single repository where every piece of information needs to live in one place, then the business will struggle to overcome these current challenges. Sorry, just lost my spot. Got a frozen screen. Bear with me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. So we're going to conduct a little poll to see whether some of what we've been talking about to date has any relevance to you in the audience. Maricel?
Okay, everybody, you should be able to see our poll. Please mark all that apply. So is your organization trying to reduce reliance on paper? Is reliant on network file shares? Wanting to extend content or services to mobile devices or users? Or you know and suspect that employees share or are sharing sensitive documents? Please vote now, and I'll give you a couple more seconds before I close it. Okay. Looks like everybody has voted. Oh, no, a bit more, so I'll give you a few more seconds to vote. Okay, thank you very much for doing that. Let me close the poll now and share with you the results. Here it is. So it looks like 69% of respondees are trying to reduce reliance on paper, followed by reliance on network file shares. Wow. And then followed by the next line, which is wanting to extend content services to mobile device users at 60%. And then you know or suspect that employees share sensitive documents at 38%. Thank you very much for participating in that poll. So I'll hide the results now. And what I'll do is we do have a second poll. So I'll share that with you now. Again, very quick and easy.
Please. So we might just do that later on.
Ah, I see. Okay, no problem. Let me close that now, and we will do that later. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Maricel. So if we take the 69%, 62%, 60%, and 38% from our results, we can see that that is in direct correlation with what the industry, various industry analysts are saying. So 66% of organizations are trying to reduce paper according to IDC. 69% of our audience today have said that that's a common problem. 62% are completely reliant on network file shares, exactly matching what we've had today. 57% are challenged by security on mobile devices. Once again, very close to our results today. And 46% of employees have shared sensitive documents via personal sharing accounts, according to Gartner, somewhat lower in our poll today. So the title of this webinar is Improve Your Digital Workplace Integration and Efficiency. So how do we do that and make it easy? We have a belief that all information is not equal and that there is a need to focus on content that has value. Organizations need to start with an understanding that it is most likely that in terms of information content, you don't know what you have, how many copies, versions there are, or even where it may reside. As mentioned previously, a big roadblock to undertaking the implementation of a new system or migrating from another system is the prospect and ultimately cost of mass data migrations. If you don't fully understand the what, where, how many of the current environment, how can you plan for the successful use of the new system without repeating or potentially increasing the inherent problems of the current environment? So I mentioned briefly on slide 2 this concept of repository neutral. M-files includes something called the Intelligent Metadata Layer, or IML. IML is the layer in M-files that allows it to be system and repository neutral and can bring in the added benefits of artificial intelligence. Through IML and M-file's ability to connect to other systems or repositories, we can take a very different approach and provide visibility and search across these various systems and locations that are most likely currently siloed from each other as the first step. This approach can allow you to have a single pane of glass view across these repositories and be in a position to make much better decisions about what might or might not be, or potentially even need to be, migrated or managed. It is also perhaps not unreasonable to say that there will be content that your organization is better off not having. So you'll see this in our demonstration and most likely will hear it referenced many times, but our approach to this solution and managing information is purely describing what it is, what this information is. So to us, it's all about what something is, not where it is stored. It is about context, not location. So we are throwing out the old hierarchy-based system with folders. None of that matters. We can see in our example image here that it's a piece of paper with writing on it. Traditionally, we might store that in a folder or a hierarchy structure based on maybe the customer, maybe the type of document, maybe the date, maybe the financial year. M-file's approach is to have that applied as metadata, so that all of that metadata becomes searchable. So end users can approach finding that document on what they know, not where it is. Do you place an invoice in an invoice folder? Do you place it in an invoices folder within a customer? Do you place it based on a financial year? Everyone potentially could be doing this differently. If I knew that it was an invoice, or I knew it was for this particular customer, within M-files, we can find that document very easily. And we can do all of this without the inherent complications of managing security and permissions across various hierarchies of folders and locations. To further expand on the previous slide, we can also use new features within M-files such as discovery to trawl through existing file shares to discover content based on a defined criteria. Potential use cases could be to find things that look like a contract or things that contain potentially personal identifiable information, and have these documents found and routed through workflows so that the appropriate person can make the appropriate decision on that content. So on the previous slide, we said it's all about context and not location. So let's look at this a little further. Currently, organizations are going to have information that will be residing in systems such as ERP systems, practice management systems, CRM systems, or internally developed systems, but is unlikely to be related to any content that may reside in other information stores, such as network folders, cloud storage services, such as OneDrive or Google Drive, etc. So M-Files can bridge the gap between customer data living in a CRM system, as an example, and content residing in another system, like a network file share, as an example, and of course, with information residing within M-Files itself. So information can be imported or synchronized into M-Files from these various systems, which in turn can have a relationship through metadata to other objects such as documents, projects, invoices, effectively now creating this 360-degree view of content. As an example, someone in sales might be searching from a customer's perspective. Someone in services may be searching based on a project perspective. They can all find content based on what it is instead of where it is, ensuring M-Files has object level permissions that only the right people see the right content without managing folder level security. At this point, we'll do another quick poll. Let's see what type of systems are currently in use within your organizations.
Thanks, Chris. I've now posted the next poll, and oh, wait a minute, sorry. It seems to have posted it already finished. So allow me to just manage the poll for a second, and it looks like I might have to redo that poll. So give me a second, Chris. I'll just hand this back to you while I fix this poll, and I'll be right back with you.
Okay. So the intent of the poll, if we don't get it up and running, and maybe we can skip through it, was to understand what types of applications are currently within use. So typically Office 365, Salesforce, SharePoint, network file shares, ECM systems, practice management systems, those sorts of things. So I
am back. So let me just post this poll now. So once again, please select all that apply. Thank you, everybody. I see a lot of people voting. We're now up to half of the people are voting. Wow, it's going up really fast. Give you a few more seconds. Looks like everybody is voting. Thank you for your feedback. And it still keeps going. Thank you. I think we're done. Let me close the poll and share with you our results. By far, Office 365 is being used, followed by network file share at 67%. Then we have Salesforce at 54%, SharePoint Online at 32%, and other ECMs at 14%. Thank you, everybody, again, for participating in this poll. Hand it back to you, Chris.
Thank you. So no great surprises there, and ties in nicely to our next section of this presentation. So we mentioned previously that we have this concept of a single pane of glass view, where you can search for, find, and manage all information across systems and repositories from your M-Files user interface. So this means, as we've previously mentioned, that you don't necessarily have to migrate data to be able to find it and manage it. If we look specifically at Office 365 as a use case, then all of this contributes to a digital enterprise experience, bridging the digital workplace with M-Files. So Office 365 offers the various applications for the modern digital workplace: Outlook, Word, SharePoint, Teams. And by connecting the Office 365 suite with the information management and process automation capabilities of mFiles, we create an environment that is not only user-friendly, but offer organisations unprecedented levels of control, governance over their information and business. So not to labour on this point, because it will be part of the demonstration, but to reinforce, if we change, we have any device, so mobile, web interface, thick client interface, potentially any user interface, so within another application, such as Teams or SharePoint or Salesforce, connecting to any repository, such as CRM systems, accounting systems, and the ability to store any document. So if we change gears a little over the next few slides, and we look more specifically at professional services, professional services or service providers, I think a lot of what we will talk about is still relevant for most industries and organisations. In the past decade, the professional services industry has transformed significantly. Digital disruptions, increased competition, changing market demands are forcing firms to change the way they operate and serve customers. To stay competitive and meet market demands, professional services firms have to innovate their product offering and deliver exceptional customer experiences. This means doing a lot more with less and reallocating resources to high value work like serving customers or developing new products. Document management and process automation play a key role. When documents are managed efficiently and processes are automated, it not only reduces operational waste, but it enables staff to do more with their time. And hopefully as a result, this can be better customer service and enhanced operational efficiencies across the entire organisation. So this industry has transformed a lot, and in our experience, these are the 4 key areas where the change is most significant. Increased focus on the customer experience. To be successful, companies must examine their operations to determine and eliminate, 1, any obstacles that prevent workers from serving the customers best. This could be in areas like project or contract management. And 2, reduce operational costs and eliminate waste to improve agility and invest in the products or services that satisfy the current customer expectations. Buyer's market is forcing companies to cut costs. This requires a shift towards automation and intelligent information management. In addition to reducing operational costs, companies have to consider ways of creating more revenue, either through new products and services or acquiring new customers. Workforce expectations. In order to meet workforce expectations, companies must establish and maintain a flexible working environment with remote working possibilities and better career mobility. Establish effective digital environments for collaboration and communication. Outsource or automate low-value, tedious work. Information security and compliance. Companies need systems and procedures in place to ensure that information access permissions are only given to relevant people with zero chance of information leak. From an IT perspective, these systems must be easy to maintain, update, and adapt as change occurs at either the user permission level, as in a person leaves the company and permissions need to be changed, or the regulatory level, that the regulation changes requiring fundamental changes to the system. Furthermore, having the ability to manage information on premise, in the cloud, or both, offers significant advantages when it comes to meeting both customer and possible regulatory expectations of how data is secured, managed. As a final point, customers need to ensure that internal compliance activities, not just around security, are effectively managed in order to avoid penalties, fines, or disrupted operations. So how can mFiles serve professional services or services delivery firms? To focus on customers. mFiles can enable both of these, to serve the customer organizations foremost need to ensure that the customer information and documents are easily accessible and secured. Furthermore, companies have to digitally manage data collected through different touch points, for example, customer onboarding or customer relationship, and get rid of silos that are built around certain processes or departments. Organizations need to ensure that they can efficiently manage customer-related processes and documentation, like contracts or projects. All of these efforts will help ensure that your employees can best serve the customer. Documentation bottlenecks and mismanaged information is costly. It not only distracts staff from their core tasks, but also can affect revenue and increase risk. Companies have to eliminate their document management bottlenecks and reduce costs and increase agility. mFiles can enable both of these efforts. As a single point of access for customer and other company data, mFiles can stream and automate document-intensive work, freeing up your staff's time and removing obstacles to better customer service. Also, mFiles can efficiently manage documentation for customer-related processes like contracts or projects, thereby enhancing customer service. It's a buyer's market and operational efficiency is important for sustaining low fees. To stay competitive, companies have to have a shift towards automation and intelligent information management. In addition to reducing operational costs, companies have to consider ways of creating more revenue either through new products and services or acquiring new customers. Namely, re-examining how processes and procedures are carried out, then automating what can be automated, reallocating resources to high-level or high-value activities, and eliminating operational waste. Furthermore, preserving knowledge and reducing rework is critical in long-term efficiency. With mFiles, managers can review and redesign every step of a process and verify that it is correctly executed. mFiles can also automate tedious and manual work involving, for example, contract management or proposal management, utilizing templates and workflows to ensure that this business-critical documentation is automatically processed in a timely manner and with minimal error. Furthermore, by having information consolidated in one system, mFiles can easily archive and transfer knowledge while keeping documentation secured for only the relevant personnel. By managing information with features like metadata and intelligence services, mFiles can help enable the incredible transformation going in the industry, forcing professional services companies to look within their organization and operations for untapped possibilities to become more efficient and effective. Workforce expectations. In order to meet workforce expectations, companies must establish and maintain a flexible working environment with remote working possibilities and better career mobility. Establish effective digital environments for collaboration and communication, and once again, outsource or automate low-value, tedious work. mFiles can serve these expectations completely. First, with mFiles, workers can access their information no matter where they are nor where their information is, offering workers complete mobility. Second, through various collaboration features like co-authoring, version control, working with colleagues across the enterprise is easy. And lastly, automation features like workflows and intelligence services reduce manual task work, enabling workers to focus on things that matter most. And information security and compliance. No company can ensure information is secure if they don't know what information they have, how it's being used, and who is using it. Visibility is important for information security. Furthermore, companies need control over information to ensure that only the right people can create, access, and share certain types of information. Also, companies need flexibility because InfoSec risks increase when large organizational changes occur and systems can't adapt to the new ways of working. From an IT perspective, these systems must be easy to maintain, update, and adapt as change occurs at either the user permission level or the regulatory level. Furthermore, having the ability to manage information on-premise and cloud, as we've discussed before, reduces your risk to possible regulatory exceptions. At the IT level, mFiles is a highly configurable platform that can be easily adapted as change occurs in the space of regulations. The ability to deploy it either on-premise or in cloud or a hybrid of the two offers this flexibility. From a quality and assurance perspective, mFiles assists with compliance-related activities like audits, CAPA, and processing of standard operating procedures, handling and training. This sort of information environment ensures the quality and security that is expected from customer and regulatory bodies. So we've mentioned that mFiles is a platform on which business process can be configured, and these are just some of the use cases and applications of which mFiles can be used within business management, consulting, and professional services firms. So quickly, in terms of benefits, when it comes to the benefits, our customers are saying that they found their customers to be happier as staff have the chance to focus on their experiences. This has resulted in increased customer loyalty and increased competitiveness against new tech-focused entrants to their markets. They've had the possibility to deploy the saved resources to new opportunities. For some customers, this has meant simply saving money and therefore having the responsibility to keep their costs low and their margins high. To others, it's also been an opportunity to give their employees more time to spend with their customers, and it has also involved retraining to be able to take more or different responsibilities in a changing landscape. And finally, our customers have been able to drastically reduce the time needed to carry out compliance-related activities, like compiling data for audits. In some cases, we have seen reduction from days to hours. Of course, with the information our customers are now able to provide being more complete and more reliable, they are less exposed to fines and general disruptions. So in summary, before I hand over to Brandon and our live demonstration, mFiles integrates with existing systems and it enhances them. Systems such as Salesforce, SharePoint, Office 365, CRM, ERP, specific financial services systems, accounting systems, etc. mFiles does not require heavy and expensive data migration, as the information can stay where it is now. This also means that there is no big disruption to day-to-day activities. mFiles is easy to use. Many people have absolutely no technical background, have the ability to use it on day one. Training is usually for enhanced use, but the basic use is very intuitive and immediate. This is thanks to the Windows-based user interface. And finally, mFiles is not application specific and can be configured and adapted for all sorts of business needs. This is not the case with all of our competitors. Brandon, at this point, I'd like to hand over to you for our live demonstration.
Thanks, Chris. So let me just jump in here, see if I can't start sharing my screen. Maricel's going to enable that for me. Thank you. So show my screen. Let's see what we're showing. So hopefully everybody can see my screen. Chris, Maricel, if you could just confirm we're looking at mFiles screen.
We are
Yes.
indeed.
Yep. Okay. So look, in the time that we've got here, I'm certainly not going to be able to show you everything or even a fraction of what mFiles can do, but I'm going to try and give everybody just a taste of how mFiles can improve our collaboration, and especially in the times we're currently living, it can actually enable us to be productive. So to start with, what Chris was saying, mFiles is integrated to Explorer. So it's a very familiar thing. We've got a drive letter in mFiles, in Explorer for mFiles. So we have both the integration into Windows to make it easy for users, but one of the special things we have with mFiles is this intelligent metadata layer, where we try and help users and we prompt them with information to help them say what the document is. mFiles' entire premise is based on what something is, not where it is. And if you'll notice, I can actually expand this. I can take my picture and I can drag my picture down into a vault. It's an mFiles term for a repository. Because it's a picture, it wants to convert it to help us OCR it, but I'm going to skip that conversion. And I'm just hoping everyone gets to see this analyzing. This is mFile's intelligent metadata layer working to help the end user define what this is. And you'll notice some suggestions come up here. It says it's a picture. And when I click on the picture, it says it's a herd of elephants. The usual joke is it's standing next to a body of water. I think it's standing in the body of water, but I'm going to accept that. And that's it. If I create that, that's as easy as it is for mFiles for a user to save mFiles and to have that information get tagged onto the document. Now, if I want to take something that's a little more structured, I can grab an NDA, same thing, I'll put it down into my document. Now, this happens a lot. And one of the complaints of people that use file shares or SharePoint or any of those folder-based systems is that we don't know how many duplicates we've got. mFiles actually has a duplicate content analyzer that says this document is actually already in there. It is the same file content. Now you'll notice there's different names for these documents, but it's actually the same file. Not surprisingly, because I do this file in a demonstration a fair bit, but it allows me to see this is already there. Now, it doesn't stop me creating it because, for example, we may have a form template or something that users want to drag in and then fill out the metadata for and change. So I can still create this. And when I say to create it, we go through the same process of analyzing the document. And this is about making it easy for our end users so that end users don't have to do a lot to get this document in and to add some information. We're going to use this information in mFiles to start giving our business some power. So again, it's analyzed that it says it's a contract or an agreement. I'm quite willing to believe that. And when I click on this, I get a different set of questions because it is a different document. My picture only wanted a description. This one wants a few different things because it's a contract. And this is all configurable very, very simply. Again, it's analyzed that says, I think I've found the customer. I'm again willing to believe it, but all of these are optional. So I can click on this or I can not click on this. So again, I've done this and I can create a document. If I try and create a document without the metadata that the business has said we require, you can always say we require some metadata. It won't let me. So let me give this a name. And then I can create this. Now you'll notice a few things about this. There's a little thing down here that looks like a workflow. This is automatically attached to it. It's also got security automatically given to the document. So mFiles has done all of that to help the end user. So we don't ask our end users to do a great deal of things. We don't even ask them where to put the document. That's one of the biggest failings of a file share of SharePoint, of those sort of systems where the end user has to know where to put something. They don't. You'll get different people will put it into different places. No matter how obvious you think it is as the business, there is always that person in your organization that thinks it should go somewhere else. So with mFiles, we don't ask where it should go. We simply ask to define what is this document. And we give them a whole bunch of help to define that by using our intelligent metadata layer. Now, if I start looking at my vaults, you'll see I've got these two documents that I just put in there, and you'll actually see this document has been automatically named by mFiles based on a business rule that we defined. So different documents can have different naming conventions. In this case, we've said, look, name it with a number, with the customer it is on it. And you'll see this window looks recently accessed by me. This is where all the documents that myself have been working on. We see, again, the workflow, the security, everything that it's done on this document. You'll actually notice that I have the ability to give this to a project. And if I give it to a project, I'd like you to watch what happens down here. Because mFiles has automatically defined the permissions of this document so that we have governance on the document based on the metadata that we put in. It's also asking me, this project has a contact person. Do I want to assign that? So you can see mFiles intelligence coming through to help our end users. And that's really the key part. It's why our end user adoption is such a big thing. Users like using mFiles because they don't really have to think a great deal. when I save this, we get a document, I get a contract that goes into my system. And that was as hard as that is. Now, if I want to find something in mFiles, I can actually go up and I can do a simple search. Right. We have a Google search facility, and this will go and do a simple search within mFiles. We'll also see something from this that is another mFiles feature that we search. We don't care where it is. So you'll notice here I've searched file shares, I've searched SharePoint Online, I've searched all of the connected repositories that we built into mFiles. So we don't care where this document is, we can go and search for it, and we can show this information to a user simply using the mFiles interface. Now, I'm going to I'll quickly break here because again, given the times we're living in, everybody is keen on mobile access. We saw from the survey that people want mobile access. I'm going to bring over onto my screen. This is the mFiles mobile interface. This is my iPad displaying on screen. So, where'd you go? There we go. We have, this is again, it's a different vault. This is a European cloud vault. So I'm connecting here to our cloud, mFiles cloud in Europe, and you'll see I have the ability to actually go and look at these, what are mFiles views, and a view is basically a set of search criteria that will bring back information, bring back documents, or I've got down here an external view, and these are the repositories that are connected to this vault. So I can go in here on my mobile, on my iPad, and search a connected file share. And this is a use case that's very, very useful at the moment, and it's something that not many other systems get to do. So we can search that. You'll notice I've got a Google Drive connector. I've got a number of other connectors that we can go and search. All of these, I can also do my search, and it will search again all of those repositories. You'll see up the top here, I have the ability to select different repositories or all the repositories where I'm looking, where I'm doing a search, and this is from my mobile client. So the mobile client is very, very powerful to do pretty much everything that you need, that our web and desktop clients can do. Users can go in, they can get their assignments. Because we have workflows, our workflows can generate assignments. So I may need to approve an invoice, or I may need to actually move this invoice to paid. So from my iPad, I can actually start approving invoices to be paid. I can approve new content for policies to be updated. I can do any of the assignments I need to do simply by working on my iPad. This functionality is all here. I also have this functionality that mFiles have where we connect to information, not just documents. And you'll notice here I have ESTT Corporation. This is information that mFiles can be receiving from a different system. And once mFiles connects to that system, it then becomes available to me on my iPad. And I can look at my customer and I can actually see all their contact information, all their phone numbers. So this is things that are available through mFiles. It's information, it's centralizing all of this information, and it's making it available on my mobile device. So, we have an out-of-the-box mobile client, we have an Android client. Both of these things are part of the mFiles license. It's not an extra add-in you do. If you go with our cloud provisioning, this comes standard. If you go for an on-premise provisioning of mFiles, it still comes standard. You obviously have some infrastructure work to enable it through your firewall or securely, but it can certainly be set up as a very secure interface to your mFiles system. So I'll just move that over for the moment, and we'll jump back into our client. We'll see again in my search results, I can look at these things, and we can see over here where this document is sitting, what it's doing. You may notice, because we're a Finnish company, sometimes we get some Finnish company names in there and descriptions. But I have the ability within this system to analyze and run this analysis again on this document. So it will go through and it will find, there's a customer for EST. So I can add information to the document and I can start managing this document even though it's in SharePoint. Now, if I were a records manager, or if I were looking at invoices there, I might start putting a workflow on this document so that it actually, it is a proposal. Let's put a proposals workflow on it. And this is managing this document even while it is sitting in SharePoint online. And that's one of the great things about M-Files. We don't care where it is, we care what it is. So I can start managing documents no matter what repository they're sitting in, and we can start putting governance across this information. So we have governance, we have security that is automatically applied based on rules that are set in the document. We have, I can add metadata to this and get different security on it. If a document sits in a repository, you'll notice custom, because we obey the security of the repository that is sitting in. If this is sitting in a SharePoint online folder, I'm not allowed to edit this document. It will not let me edit this content. I can still do management on it. I can add metadata to it, but I cannot edit it if my SharePoint permissions say I can't. So M-Files is still obeying the permissions of the repository where it can. Now, we have some mechanisms in the case of shared folders or things that don't really apply security. We have mechanisms that can override with M-File security as well as the current security. So we look after the governance no matter where it is. It's always based on what the business defines. So if let's not save that. So this is M-Files across all of your different information repositories, getting information from other systems. We can bring information in. We can manage things like projects. If this is about information, this isn't about documents. So I can do all of that. I also have the ability, and I'm going to do it very quickly because I am aware of our time. I'm going to do this and just show you very quickly. We have the ability in M-Files to collaborate on documents. So we have a recent, go into my recent, we have the ability to do collaboration with documents. I can collaborate with other M-Files users by opening a document for co-authoring. Now, in a standard M-Files environment, when I open a document, it will be checked out to me exclusively, locking that document. But M-Files has a feature that allows it to co-author a document. So we can actually use the Microsoft Office online facilities, their apps, and co-author a document in the same way that you do it through, we used to do it through OneDrive, we used to do it through various SharePoint apps. M-Files can do the same thing. Right, hello, where'd you go? So we have, there's my co-authoring. You'll notice my functions that I have in my menu basically allow me to do all the document. I can look at the history of a document. I can check it out for exclusive access, or I can check it out for co-authoring. I can also share this. So I can send a link to people within that are M-Files users, or I can send a copy of the document to someone externally. If I want to share a document with external people, say a job advertisement or a tender document, I can share a public link, which I can then make available through my website. Click here to get the latest tender document, and they can download that up to a period of time. I can put a time limit on how long they can download that, and that link will then not work. So there's all these standard features of a document management system, as well as some of the very special features that we've built into M-Files, such as the co-authoring, such as the document compare feature, which allows me to compare the content of this document with the previous version, with another version of the document, so I can go back 20 versions, or in the case of maybe a control document, I might want to compare the current Word document to the current published PDF. So I can actually compare a Word document to a PDF document and find the differences in these. So it allows some great functionality straight out of the box. I'm not going to do it, given our time, I'm not going to be able to demonstrate that, but if you want to see more of these features, absolutely just send us an email, click on the link on the website. There's many ways to get in contact with us, and we can show you how these things work. What I will show you just very quickly to finish, because we also have this collaboration, we have the ability to embed our client within a team, within a Salesforce interface. So this is my Salesforce interface, and you'll see all of the M-Files documents in this Salesforce interface. Again, they're coming from potentially a shared folder. They could be coming from SharePoint. They could be coming from OneDrive. They could be coming from G Suite. They are all showing up for those people that want to use the Salesforce interface. You can still do everything in Salesforce and still have your documents showing up, but governed by that M-Files security, by that M-Files workflows, all that metadata that is attached to those documents, allowing you to see the power of that information. Rather than just sitting dead on a file share, this is where we can see information. Now we have that same interface in a SharePoint. We can see, again, we can go into SharePoint and see our customer documents. I can do a search in here. I can preview these documents from within SharePoint. So it's all these facilities. And again, in Teams, we have the same thing. We have all these abilities within these websites to do, in these clients, we have built in the M-Files client. So if your people don't want to leave these various systems, we still have the ability to leverage the power of your system, but put in the governance and the ability of M-Files to do what it needs to do. Maricel, I'll hand over to you very quickly for the last two questions.
No problem. We have some questions. Do you support picture recognition? If so, how? And what is the limit in accuracy?
Yes, we noticed my picture recognition. What M-Files does, we have image recognition out of the box, but we leverage either the Microsoft Image Analytics or the Google Image Analytics. So we can actually use those functions to give us back the metadata that you saw on my elephant.
Great. Another question, does M-Files have its own repository, or does it simply leverage the existing varied sort of repositories existing in an organization?
No, absolutely. M-Files has its own repository. This M-Files can absolutely stand alone as its own repository with the information and everything in that. And in fact, if I'm in the client itself and I'm creating a new document, you'll notice I can create a document from with M-Files. It asks me the questions on what it is. It allows me, if I say, look, can we do a proposal? Whoops, let's not do that. If I say, can I do a proposal? It will actually then give me proposal templates that we've set up within M-Files, and I can set up multiple templates for different things. So I can do this, I can run M-Files as its own repository with a complete feature set. What we've done by connecting the other repositories is basically remove or absolutely reduce the need for an immediate migration of things. One of the biggest problems when you put a new system in is migrating from your existing systems. What M-Files does is allows the users to connect to those repositories so they can start using M-Files straight away, but still find all their other documents.
Great, thank you. Next question. Will M-Files find SharePoint files if the document is restricted from the searcher? For example, searcher is a BA, wants to check publication date of the latest DA authority discussions by government's team.
M-Files, as I say, M-Files search obeys the permissions of the repository that it's connecting to. Now, if we have a look here, you'll actually see my external repositories, and you'll see that I can connect to them with shared credentials as an admin, but I can also connect to them with personal credentials. So it will restrict documents from any repository to the permissions that I have in those repositories. So this is not a way to get around bad permissions on SharePoint or bad permissions in a folder share, unless you want to open it up to everybody. But it will, mFiles always obeys the repository that it's trying to connect to for as far as security goes.
Next question, how to convert my existing data into metadata to make everything searchable? Do we just drop into mFiles vault and convert the file? Hence, how to handle those compressed or encrypted data? Do I need to build all workflow approval flow again on mFiles?
There are a number of ways we can look at doing things like that. mFiles has a number of migration tools. We have a number of different tools that our partners have actually built to help with some very complex migrations. It's really, it's a piece of string answer. The answer is it depends on what you have. In terms of encrypted data, mFiles doesn't change that. However, mFiles has the ability to encrypt data at rest itself. But if you're bringing an encrypted file into mFiles, it's still going to have that same issue with reading that through its indexer. So it won't be able to index an encrypted file. But there is many different options, and we have some very slick customized import tools that allow our partners to import data from some very complex use cases.
And perhaps we can answer this question further via email. So we will send you some information through after this webinar. Thank you. A few more questions. Is AutoCAD file.dwg supported in mFiles?
Yeah, absolutely. Given mFiles itself is fully integrated to Windows, if you have anything that is a DWG viewer, for example, you will find that mFiles will be able to preview it in the preview window. So we also have support for AutoCAD. So we have an integration ribbon that comes up in AutoCAD that allows you to save documents directly into mFiles. So yes, this is the answer to the question.
Great. Are separate plugins and licenses required for mFiles to integrate with the various document repositories?
No, yes, but no. mFiles comes in 3 different flavors now. We have a new pricing model. Depending on what add-ins you require, you buy a different package. So basically the same as the Office 365 and those others, you can buy a standard, a professional, or an enterprise package depending on what your requirements are. So there are some separate licenses required, and they will come as part of those different packages. But basically, a lot of the features I've shown you today were out of the box. The integration to SharePoint and Teams, that comes as part of our other packages. Chris may be able to say which one.
We can
yes,
provide
absolutely.
some information as well via email. Sorry, go on, Chris.
Yep. Yes, so it's as Brandon alluded to, there are multiple bundles. So within each bundle, there are certain applications and functionality enabled. So it would just be a matter of choosing the right bundle to get the right number of licenses or right applications that you're wanting to connect to. Yep.
Great. Next question. How can we enable or activate compare feature in mFiles?
The compare feature is an out-of-box feature for mFiles. So there's you can set it up in the admin console. You need to set up the it's actually a web service that we use for compare. But there is features. There's instructions on how to set that up online.
Great. Now, if other partners have created a data, who owns this IP?
The actual this depends. Obviously, some of our partners themselves have actually created connectors, and those partners are selling them through the marketplace. So they potentially still own the IP if it's sold as a subscription, but there's different agreements on different things.
Okay, great. In relation to integration into Microsoft Cognitive Services, how do the video and voice files get tagged and then searched within M-Files, or transcripts for a better term?
Currently waiting on our feature update for image analysis to be video analysis. So at the moment, our video and voice files aren't automatically tagged, but you can certainly add the metadata to them manually. So our intelligence is currently limited to image analysis, but our video and voice is actually on the roadmap. I'm not entirely sure when that's due, but it was, I think originally it was the second half of this year, but I'm not sure what the program says about it.
Great, thanks, Brendan and Chris. Those are our questions for today. So that concludes today's webinar. Thank you everybody for joining, and do feel free to reach out to us if you have any more questions after this. We will send the recorded webinar to you so you can review it and share it with your colleagues, and that will have our contact details. So you will receive that very soon. Thank you again, and goodbye.